Someone is completely overwhelmed by thoughts of you, yet at this very moment, circumstances do not allow the two of you to be together. Deep within yourself, your intuition already understands that something about this connection feels real. Even when your logical mind tries to dismiss it, when it tries to convince you that you are imagining things, take a quiet moment, breathe slowly, and listen closely, because what you are about to discover is not simply a random thought passing through your mind. It is not something you created from imagination alone. The person who suddenly entered your thoughts did not appear there for no reason. There is a powerful, invisible connection existing between the two of you, something silent yet meaningful, something neither of you can fully explain and neither of you can easily walk away from. This is not a temporary idea that disappears after a few moments. It is not a simple memory or a passing emotion that fades with time. It is something deeper, something consistent, something that continues to remain even when both of you try to ignore it. They feel a strong pull toward you, but at the same time they carefully hold themselves back. It is a type of emotion they may have never allowed themselves to experience before. Something inside them recognizes this bond, but something else tells them to stay distant. There is a reason this connection feels complicated. There is a reason there is space between you. There is a reason the feelings exist, but the two of you are not moving closer right now. And when you understand the truth behind this situation, you will begin to see your thoughts, your emotions, and every memory you share from a completely different perspective. Even though there may be distance separating you physically, someone somewhere is deeply affected by your presence. Someone is carrying thoughts of you, remembering moments with you, and feeling a connection that they cannot simply erase. But this bond feels restricted. It feels like something that is not allowed to fully happen at this moment. And this entire situation reveals two powerful realities that you need to understand. Before you continue listening, take a moment and allow yourself to be present. This message did not come to you at a meaningless time. Sometimes certain words reach us when our inner world is searching for understanding. If this silent message of connection feels familiar to you, support this message so it can reach someone else who may need to hear it. You did not find these words randomly. The person who appeared in your mind while hearing this message may be connected to something deeper within your life. There is someone who continues to return to your thoughts without effort. Someone whose memory appears when you least expect it. Someone with whom you feel a bond that feels different from ordinary connections. This is not a temporary attraction. It is not a shallow feeling that disappears quickly. It is something stronger, calmer, and more constant. A feeling that remains quietly in the background even when life continues moving forward. They are drawn toward you, but not in an obvious or dramatic way. They do not express it loudly. They do not reveal everything they feel. Instead, they carry it silently, carefully controlling emotions that they may not fully understand themselves. This feeling is controlled because it is unfamiliar. It is different from anything they have experienced before. Yet this connection feels blocked, not because the emotions are missing, but because something stands between the two of you. Something creates hesitation. Something creates distance. Something makes moving forward feel difficult. And that restriction reveals something important. It explains why this connection feels intense, why there is separation, and why neither person can completely move forward while also being unable to completely let go. If these words are already touching something inside you, if you feel a strange familiarity with this message, consider subscribing and staying connected because this space exists for people who experience emotions that are difficult to explain. You must first understand one important truth. When a connection feels impossible or limited, it does not always mean the feelings are weak. In many situations, it can mean the opposite. The strongest emotional connections are often the ones that appear during complicated moments. They do not always arrive when everything is easy. They do not always appear when life is perfectly organized. They often enter when people least expect them. These connections are not created from boredom, loneliness, or a simple temporary attraction. They are created through a deeper recognition, something that reaches beyond ordinary interest. This person did not intentionally decide to develop these feelings for you. It was not something they planned. It happened slowly, almost unnoticed at first. At the beginning, you were simply someone they noticed, someone who caught their attention in a way they could not explain. Then, over time, you became someone they respected, someone whose thoughts and presence started becoming meaningful. After that, you became someone they trusted, someone they felt comfortable with, someone whose words stayed in their mind long after conversations ended. And without realizing exactly when it happened, you became the person they could not stop thinking about. The reason this connection feels restricted is not because there is no emotion between you. The reason is because there are circumstances surrounding it. There are situations, responsibilities, fears, timing issues, and personal boundaries creating obstacles. This is where the first important reality begins to appear. This person is experiencing an internal battle because of you. They are not fighting against you. They are not trying to reject you. They are struggling with their own emotions and the meaning those emotions have brought into their life. They wake up, and you are already one of their first thoughts. Then they remind themselves of all the reasons they should not allow those thoughts to continue. They replay conversations you had together. They remember small details you may have forgotten. They think about moments that made them feel understood. Then they question themselves for feeling happy about those memories. They imagine what it would feel like to be closer to you. They imagine what life could look like if circumstances were different. But then they push those thoughts away because wanting you feels complicated. Not because their feelings are wrong, but because acting on those feelings could change the life they have built. For some people, this struggle happens because they already have commitments elsewhere. For others, it may involve family expectations, personal responsibilities, cultural beliefs, or values they have carried for years. Sometimes the situation is simply that one person is not completely available, making the connection much harder to follow. Sometimes this bond challenges everything they believed they wanted from their future. Instead of moving toward you, they create distance. Instead of expressing what they feel, they remain silent. Instead of reaching out, they observe from far away. And there is something many people misunderstand. Silence does not always mean a lack of emotion. Sometimes silence exists because the feelings are stronger than someone knows how to handle. That is exactly what is taking place in this situation. Every time they attempt to stop themselves from reaching out, the emotion becomes even stronger. Every time they create distance, the connection seems to become even more powerful. Every time they try to deny what they truly feel, the bond sinks deeper into their subconscious instead of disappearing. And emotions that are buried do not simply vanish. They do not fade away just because they are ignored. Instead, they often become stronger and more intense as time continues. This explains the unusual shift in energy that you sometimes feel. Comment 111 if you are experiencing this connection right now. It explains why you can sense them even when they are physically far away. It explains why thoughts about them appear in your mind at unexpected moments without you intentionally bringing them there. It explains why your emotions suddenly change even when nothing external seems to have happened. You may feel their presence during quiet and peaceful moments. You may notice a stream of unfinished emotions moving between the two of you. This happens because hidden feelings do not simply disappear. They remain present, waiting for the right moment to come forward. Carl Jung suggested that until the hidden parts of the mind are acknowledged and accepted, they continue influencing our choices and experiences, and sometimes we may interpret that influence as destiny or fate. Much of what connects you right now exists beneath the surface. It remains unspoken, unresolved, and unseen. Because these emotions stay hidden, they continue moving quietly underneath everything, creating emotional tension, powerful feelings, and inner conflict. This person may be thinking about you privately while showing the outside world a calm and composed appearance. They may seem peaceful and unaffected, but internally, there can be a constant battle between opposing emotions. A desire to move closer, followed immediately by the need to step away. This does not happen because you are unimportant to them. It happens because you may matter so deeply that it creates uncertainty and fear. They may worry about changing their current life, breaking their personal principles, or beginning something that they are unsure they can control. Type sacred. If you have ever felt this kind of silent emotional pull with someone, then you understand how exhausting that internal struggle can become. It is why the connection can sometimes feel difficult to carry. It is why the intensity remains even without direct conversations. It is why physical distance does not always create true peace. Jung also explained that when two people encounter each other, it can be compared to two chemical elements coming into contact. If a reaction happens, both elements are changed forever. You have already been affected by this experience. Both of you, whether you consciously recognize it or not, have been deeply transformed simply through knowing each other. Something within you has shifted because of the feelings connected to them. This is not just imagination. This is not an accidental thought. This is a connection that reaches beyond ordinary explanations and normal reasoning. And this is why time alone cannot completely erase it. It is not maintained by habit or routine. It continues because it carries a deeper emotional meaning. Jung wrote that when love is truly present, there is no desire to dominate or control. Within this connection, control is not the purpose and power is not the foundation. That is why it can feel so complicated and difficult to understand at times. There are no hidden games. There is no attempt to manipulate each other. There are simply two people who have been touched by something unexpected and are trying to understand how it fits into their everyday reality. As this awareness continues to grow, one truth becomes clearer. You are not just a temporary thought. You are not a mistake. You are not someone who can simply be replaced by another person. You are part of a story that has already started changing both of you and leading you toward a deeper understanding of yourselves. As this awareness expands, the meaning behind this complicated connection will slowly reveal itself, one step at a time, with patience and acceptance, until the next chapter is ready to unfold. If you are still listening, you are already among the few people willing to explore something that many others spend their entire lives avoiding. Most people ignore messages like this, not because they feel nothing, but because the emotions they awaken can feel too powerful. If something inside you is already responding to these words, subscribe now and turn on notifications. What you are about to discover is not only about complicated connections and silent emotions. It will completely change the way you understand yourself and the experiences you share with others. As this realization begins to settle within you, another truth becomes impossible to ignore. This connection does not behave like ordinary attraction. It does not become weaker simply because there is distance. It does not disappear just because you try to think logically about it. It does not fade away merely because circumstances make it difficult. Instead, it quietly follows both of you, like a shadow created not by one individual, but by the powerful experience that exists when two people deeply affect each other. You may notice that even when you are focused on your responsibilities, your work, and everything else happening in your life, this person somehow returns to your thoughts without any effort from you. It is not because you are intentionally searching for them. It is because something unfinished within you continues to rise back to the surface. The same inner process may be happening within them as well. They may spend days appearing completely unaffected. They may look fully focused on their career, their family, their responsibilities, and their daily routine. But the human mind often returns again and again to what it has not emotionally completed. They remember the way you made them feel understood without needing many words. They remember how natural it felt to be completely themselves around you. They remember the strange familiarity, the feeling of knowing you longer than the time you actually shared together. They remember moments that carried a meaning far greater than they expected. And that is exactly what creates the confusion inside them. Because once someone experiences being truly seen and understood on a deep emotional level, that experience is not something that can simply be erased. This is where many people misunderstand the idea of a restricted connection. They assume that distance happens because one person does not care enough or because the feelings are not equally strong. But many times, the reality is completely different. Distance does not always appear because emotions are weak. Sometimes distance appears because emotions are incredibly powerful. This person understands that if they take even a single step closer toward you, they may no longer be able to return to the version of themselves they have always known. Deep inside, they sense that something permanent is waiting on the other side of complete honesty, but they are still not prepared to break down the life they have carefully created over the years. Even if that life no longer truly represents who they are becoming, they continue holding on to it because it feels familiar. So they choose control instead of vulnerability. They choose the comfort of their current situation instead of facing the full intensity of what they feel. They choose the pain they already understand rather than stepping into a truth they are still afraid to fully accept. But every choice has a consequence. Whenever someone forces their real emotions into silence, those feelings do not simply disappear. They do not vanish just because they are ignored. Instead, they transform into something else within the person. They appear as inattention, unexplained sadness, constant distraction, and a growing feeling that something important is missing from their life. They may begin feeling emotionally distant from the people they are supposed to feel closest to. They may start questioning relationships that once seemed stable, comfortable, and secure. They may experience a strange emptiness that they cannot clearly explain. Something inside them keeps searching for an answer, even though they may not know exactly what question they are trying to solve. They might wonder why the things that once made them happy no longer bring the same satisfaction. They may ask themselves why old patterns no longer feel fulfilling and why the answers that once gave them peace now feel incomplete. During those moments, they may never speak your name. They may never openly admit what is happening inside them. But somewhere within their thoughts, you become a quiet reminder. You become a hidden symbol of emotional honesty, authenticity, and a deeper connection they have not yet allowed themselves to experience fully. This is why the connection continues to feel unfinished. It is not simply about two people missing each other. It is not only about memories or longing. It is about two lives standing at the beginning of a transformation that can no longer be ignored. And you feel something similar, even if you cannot always explain it with words. You may have noticed that after this person entered your life, something within you shifted. Your expectations quietly changed without any announcement. Your understanding of love became different. The things you once accepted without questioning now feel impossible to ignore. What you desire from a relationship has become clearer. What you truly need has become more visible. The things you once tolerated because you thought they were normal now feel empty and insufficient. You may find yourself becoming less willing to remain connected to someone who only gives you a small part of themselves. You may have less patience for relationships that lack emotional depth, honesty, and genuine presence. You now recognize the difference between simply having someone beside you and actually feeling understood by someone. You understand what a meaningful connection feels like. You understand what emotional safety feels like. You understand what it means when two people truly see each other. And that awareness did not appear randomly. It came from recognition. This is where the deeper meaning of this connection begins to reveal itself. This experience is not only about wanting another person. It is not only about hoping for someone to choose you. It is about awakening something inside yourself that had been waiting to be discovered. Some relationships enter our lives because they are meant to create a shared journey. Some relationships come to build a future together, but other connections arrive for a different reason. They come to awaken something within us. They come to reveal hidden parts of ourselves and guide us toward a deeper understanding of who we truly are. This connection belongs to that second kind, not because it can never become something more, but because its greatest impact is already happening within you. Its purpose is not only found in what happens between two people, its purpose is also found in what it awakens inside your own heart. You met this person during a specific chapter of your life, at a moment when something within you was ready to change. Something inside you was prepared to see love differently, to experience emotions differently, and to understand yourself on a deeper level. And they met you at a time when they were quietly questioning the life they had created. Even if they never admitted those doubts to anyone, even if they continued appearing normal on the outside, something inside them was beginning to shift. This is why the connection feels both incredibly strong and deeply confusing at the same time. You become mirrors for one another. You reveal the parts of each other that have been hidden away. You bring awareness to emotions that were buried beneath responsibilities, fears, expectations, and old beliefs. They awaken sides of you that were waiting for permission to come forward, and you awaken something within them that they may have tried to ignore for a long time. Connections like this do not always follow ordinary timing. They do not rush according to human expectations. They do not always arrive with obvious signs or clear explanations. Instead, They work quietly beneath the surface. They slowly reshape your priorities. They change what you value. They transform your understanding of what truly matters. They force you to look beyond what is comfortable and begin recognizing what is real. Right now, if this message connects with something deep inside you, leave the number 111 in the comments. In the symbolism of meaningful timing and the hidden patterns that many people associate with spiritual awareness, 111 represents a moment when something unseen begins becoming visible. It represents alignment, recognition, and the feeling that two energies moving in the same direction are beginning to meet. If this message reached you at a moment when you needed to hear it, that number can be your personal way of acknowledging that something about these words felt meaningful to you. Write 111 if you feel that this message arrived for a reason. That is why even the silence between you can feel powerful. Even when there are no conversations, no messages, and no physical closeness, something can still feel active beneath the surface. You may wonder why moving on feels so difficult. Why does your mind continue returning to this person? Why does telling yourself that nothing can happen fail to create the freedom you expected? The reason is because this connection is not sustained only by imagination or fantasy. It continues because something real was experienced. Something emotionally significant happened that changed the way you see connection, love, and yourself. A truth that has been deeply felt is not easily erased. A meaningful experience cannot simply be deleted from your heart because circumstances became complicated. You are not only holding on to a person, you are holding on to a feeling of emotional clarity that changed something inside you forever. And they may be experiencing their own version of this same inner process. This does not mean you should stop living your life. It does not mean you should wait endlessly for someone to choose you. It does not mean you should sacrifice your present for an uncertain future. Instead, it means you should understand the lesson this connection is bringing into your life. It is showing you how deeply your heart is capable of feeling. It is showing you the kind of connection that gives energy instead of constantly taking it away. It is reminding you that real emotions are not always built around what is easy, comfortable, or without risk. And whether they openly admit it or continue hiding behind their circumstances, this connection is creating a similar transformation within them as well.